I also happen to think that cloud computing is going through an evolution and is just in its infancy. Now, there's a lot, if you think about Facebook, you think about Twitter, you think about YouTube, you think about all the Flickr and other sites, we've been cloud computing for a long time now because all of that is storing personal data and content in a shared environment, which is the public cloud. But what I think is going to be changing is going to be the enterprise use of the cloud much more significantly than we've seen in the past. I'm going to give credit here. I'm going to share a couple of slides here. I'll give credit to Salesforce.com, which actually helped provide some of these slides. Some of you may have seen these before, but I thought it was really good to share where the cloud I think is heading. We've seen an evolution of cloud computing because the technology industry itself has been evolving over time, and a couple of people today have talked about that. We are still in a hybrid between enterprise computing and cloud computing, but more and more as I talk to companies, there's more and more going into what I'll call today's traditional enterprise cloud applications like Salesforce.com and Google and Amazon and Azure. We're seeing some of that, but I think there's going to be a next generation which is going to be coming up, which is a mashup between enterprise computing and cloud computing, which we've only begun to start seeing today. And that's really what this slide talks about, is that in the future, and as we're starting to move now, is what we're going to be seeing the cloud for is more about using the cloud as a platform for applications which may be developed to run in the cloud, and then those applications being used collaboratively in a mashup or some other way with applications that are on the cloud and data that are in the cloud, so that as an application organization, you're going to not see the difference between things that are running in your data center, things that are running in the cloud data center. Your customers are going to get an application view which uses components across both of those platforms. We're also seeing a big move towards corporate collaboration, and I think if there's one next big move that you haven't considered yet, consider this one, which is the power of collaboration. We heard the Odesk story earlier, where this is kind of collaboration on steroids, so to speak, meaning that your whole development community is collaborative. But here's a story that I heard from an organization I was working with. There was a CIO. I'm trying to remember. I think it was in the media industry, who had a goal to hire people out of school, right out of school, and have a real program of developing that talent, because this CIO felt that there was a real opportunity to develop that talent. So because there was a program that was sponsored by the CIO, they were really tracking these individuals. And after the first 3 years of this program, CIO took a poll of, well, who's still here of that initial class? And then each year took how many people were there. Out of the initial class that was hired, there was exactly 0 of those people left. Out of the second year, there was only like 20% people left. Out of the third year, there was like 50% of the people left. So they were getting this enormous attrition rate of people that they were bringing in to try to create a younger workforce. Well, CIO, like any good CIO, said, well, let me go get some data. Let me go talk to the people. Let me go find the people that left. Let me go find out why it is that they were leaving. And the best story he told in this case was, he said, talked to some of the people who had left and said, look, when you hire people to do sales, you wouldn't think about hiring that person to do sales and not give them a computer and a phone. You're hiring me to work in the technology organization, and you're not giving me a social networking tool. I can't do my job. That to me is a basic tool for me to collaborate with my colleagues, is a social networking tool. And that's why this collaboration moving to the cloud is, I think, so important, because what we're finding is that not only is it the digital generation that is expecting and has grown up working with social networking, and that's just the way that the work gets done and the multitasking get done, it's that it is actually a more efficient way of people to collaborate within the organization. And if there's one area that you haven't explored yet, figure out in your organizations how you're going to take advantage of collaboration or networking or social networking within your organization. And you have to do it in a way that's secure. You have to do it in a way that's appropriate for your organization. And all of us are in different kinds of organizations. But not just, like I said, not just is the generation that we're hiring today only think that way and have grown up using this tool, but it actually is a very, very productive tool to make your organization more productive, especially when you're geographically diverse. At Comcast, we've probably not done as much as we should yet, but I can tell you that the people in our organization have lots of tools to collaborate, because while we're not worldwide, other than our partners who are worldwide, we have lots of locations in the United States for our people, and we use our collaboration tools pretty effectively and pretty extensively for our people to work together all hours of the day or night. Cloud computing is also more efficient, and this is a slide which I think is going to drive a lot of socially responsible companies towards cloud computing as well, is that shared infrastructure, data centers as we know are not the most efficient from an environmental perspective. This shared infrastructure is a much more efficient and socially, for cloud computing is much more socially efficient as well. Anybody surprised? So take a look at this data. What this says is social networking surpassed email in 2009. I don't know if anybody's seen that data before. Anybody surprised by that data? Those of you who have kids, your kids look at their email anymore? No, nobody look. No, because that's what's happening. This is the digital generation. I was interacting with my niece. Not even a kid anymore. I think she's 26 now, and I sent her an email. And I didn't hear from her, I finally sent her a text message, which she, of course, replied to immediately, to which she said, I don't even look at my email anymore. And I found that is true. In the business workplace, people still use email as a business tool, but that's going to change. We've got the next generation coming into the workforce today, and email is a dying platform. It's dying not just because people aren't using it. Why aren't they using it? Is because it doesn't provide that ability to collaborate like other mediums do. So this thing, if you would actually take a look at, there's a number of graphs that are like this that show text messaging, social networking, email, and it's actually, which was more interesting on one of the other graphs that I didn't put in here, was that I think by 2011 or 2012 is text messaging starting to decline as well. So email's already started to decline. Text messaging is going to start to decline because you won't need it, because you'll have everything within your social networking tools. And the way we use the internet is changing as well. You can see in the timeline here where search was certainly the killer app on the internet for a long time, and that's no longer true, and certainly won't be true going forward, where you have the consumption of content, YouTube being a good proxy for the consumption of content, and social networking now eclipsing search as the primary use. I'll tell you an interesting story about that. Facebook is so pervasive as a tool. I don't know, it was a month or so ago, Facebook had an outage for an hour or so. Right? What's Facebook's 800 number? All right. So when you had, so for so many people who their primary use of the internet is Facebook, when they couldn't get to Facebook, they called Comcast as the largest ISP. Our phone lines were flooded, totally overwhelmed our call centers because Facebook was down. That tells you how pervasive the use of Facebook is. That people didn't say, well, I'm going to go try another website and make sure that it's actually Facebook. They didn't even think about another website. They said, the internet must be down, Comcast must be down, it must be a problem with Comcast, tell me what the problem is. Our call centers were flooded because we have an 800 number and everybody knows our 800 number. We got flooded with Facebook. That kind of validates the change in the use of the internet over time that this graph really shows. I don't know what the future is going to look like because I don't know what the next big application is going to be. I have some ideas about how the use of the internet's going to affect business, which we can talk about. But this one's really interesting to show how quickly things change over time. And we've talked about this a little earlier today. Look at the device. Look how the use of devices have changed and will continue to change. So people use desktops, and then they use notebooks and PCs, and very quickly smartphones. As far as the total use of the internet is already overwhelming and will continue to overwhelm. And that's just because so many more people are consuming more and more content on mobile devices. And I think that's a very important trend that we in the organization have to be aware of, because that's how our customers are going to interact with us. As I said before, one of my goals at Comcast is over time to make sure that our customers have the ability to interact with us in any way they want to interact with us anytime, and that includes mobile, with a lot of mobile apps now for controlling your DVR. There's mobile apps for getting your balance of your account. There's mobile apps for finding out about an outage. There's all kinds of apps that are available today, and I think that's going to go a lot further because so many people are thinking of their mobile device as an extension of them. Now, We've talked about cloud computing a little bit, but this shows that there's a fundamental shift that has been happening in cloud computing, where originally the cloud was about a commerce relationship. It was about Amazon, it was about eBay, it was about search, and we saw the slides about how social networking is taking over as one of the predominant uses of the internet and YouTube. So this one calls Cloud 2 as collaboration, real-time, mobile. I actually think that's the length of the generations of cloud computing are shortening. And we're actually going to go to Cloud 3 pretty quickly. And Cloud 3 is all going to be about commerce relationships. It's going to be about business relationships, which I don't think you've seen very much. Think of the following. And if there's one concept that I'll try to get across that you may not have heard before, I spoke about this at another CIO event, smaller group, and I was talking about the concept of why is it that Facebook has become so popular? What is it about Facebook that's compelling? And in my opinion, I mean, I'm not the expert on this, but in my opinion, it's because it allows you as the individual to control your relationships with your group. It's not about a group that you have to join. It's about you controlling your relationships in your world and getting. One of my friends told me that the reason that they love Facebook is every day they don't have to think about trying to reach out to all their friends and figure out what's going on in their lives that's important. It all comes to them because it's about you controlling your relationships. Student over here said about how he's built up his own network. It's about you controlling your relationship. What concept is similar to that in business? See, to me, that's Cloud 3. I think that the same thing is going to happen that's happened from an interpersonal relationship. It's going to happen with your business relationship. We all talk about, as businesses, we talk about customer segmentation. We all talk about being customer friendly. We all talk about allowing customer choice. But we all talk about that individually as individual companies. Isn't there a better model which puts the customer at the center and lets the customer create relationships with the businesses they want to create and have a very consistent way of that customer to do business, not only with the businesses they want to do business with, which is responsibility in us as businesses to be part of that environment and part of a consistent way, but allows then individuals who have social networks to then share experiences with the companies they do business with and recommend companies and share leads with companies and get compensated for that. I think Cloud 3 is about using the concepts that have been pioneered from an individual and personal relationship for a business relationship. So I didn't put that on the slide, but if there's one concept to think about how this whole idea of putting the customer in the center of the social network will apply to businesses.